uncertainty and confusion, which led to the declaration of the presidential results. Daily Nation says Ruto wins it. 3 words and that's it. The Standard, Ruto the fifth. 3 words and that's it. The Business Daily, economic jitters as split IEBC declares Ruto president-elect. Of course, the Business Daily concerned with matters of the economy, how businesses across the sector are going to return back to normal activity, and whether this split in the IEBC is also going to affect businesses in the country and the economy. So we're going to have a look at all of that. Do give me your feedback, your thoughts on anything that we do say here. However, let's just dive into this conversation with Mr. Silas. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you.
Looking sharp as always. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Right.
Yes.
How are you feeling this morning from the period of 6 days, a very intense period that we've had? Personal thoughts and how you're feeling.
Yeah, I'm actually elated because finally we put on end the electioneering period. Of course, not yet, still, because we are yet to hear from the other side. But I think the main business has been put on end.
All right.
Yes.
Do you think we did better than the past, let's say, 3 elections from 2007 to now? If you take a look at how we have conducted ourselves, how the commission has conducted the elections, how Kenyans have behaved during these 2022 general elections, would you say we've made strides, or how is the situation looking like from your side?
Well, it's a wow for the IEBC, because for the first time we could talk of transparency on the roadmap towards the declaration of the winner. The international community, from several quarters, you could see them celebrating and congratulating the IEBC for the good job they have done in terms of how they have managed this present election. Yes.
10 hours over a very grueling period yesterday, witnessed from around 9 a.m. when the verification desks were open over at Bomas, and we were expecting that results were going to be announced by 3 p.m. However, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., still nothing. We saw that the diplomatic community started walking out. A couple of those leaders who are there, Senator Oledama, that is quite a difficult Olekina.
Yes.
Very mouthful.
Ledama Olekina.
Ledama Olekina.
Yes.
Got it right finally. Senator Olekina there, of course, tweeting out, and various agents and press briefing happening outside Bomas by the presidential agent for Raila Odinga. Another press briefing happening over at Serena Hotel. It was a movie of some sorts, up until when Chebukati walked in, being roughed up, security forces trying to help him out, DP Ruto's mother also being led out, and also now finally having DP Ruto come back in with his team and Chebukati. Before we get into the details of all that happening, what was going through your mind as you were watching all this unfold? If, of course, definitely you were tuning into this event, what was going in through your mind as you were waiting for the announcement? What do you expect? What did you expect, regardless of how the outcome did turn out? What did you expect, and how was your reaction after Chebukati did this declaration?
I think from the beginning, when we are coming towards the tail end of the entire process, I did not have much jitters per se, in terms of having looked at how the whole process was being handled from the beginning. When you saw from 34As coming in, and anybody, whoever had a gadget, could be able to download, do tally. Of course, it was a very tiresome work, very cumbersome. I'm sure there are some media houses that perhaps left it midway. I'm tempted to ask if KU managed.
we also did leave it midway. But then
you see, I was so much expectant that the whole process was going to be as smooth as it began. But when we saw our leaders beginning to experience, beginning to show our screen certain images that are not welcome for the people we are actually going to leave the mandate to act on our behalf, to make decisions on our behalf. It was so unfortunate that even our guests had to leave the arena.
Right.
The guests who came to maybe give the final stamp and approval that yes, Kenya finally has it. It's like they were saying that, oh, we are not getting it as we expected it.
Right.
So they left the venue, and I think it is from that point that, in my view, the IEBC was to give it a chance, because they still had one constitutional day.
Right.
Give it a chance. Try to get, why are the guests getting out? I believe if we visit you in your house, and then unbeknown to you we begin to walk away,
right,
you must be disturbed. Hey, our guests, why are you going?
Why are you leaving?
Why are you leaving?
Right.
So you get to hear our view. Then we tell you, oh, you put that TV in a wrong place. Then say, oh, it's only this TV. Okay, let me push it this other way so that we can have a good conversation. What I mean is, they would have taken time to solicit for the opinion of the guests and see if the stalemate can be cured.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. The Daily Nation here says Ruto wins it, right? And maybe just to read the forward there. Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati declares William Samoei Ruto winner of this year's general election with a 1.64% margin. Looking at the numbers here on page 4 of the Daily Nation, and of course, as is public knowledge as of now, 7,176,141 million votes against Raila Odinga at 6,942,930. My quick math tells me this is a little over 200,000, right? This could easily be a constituency somewhere, or could be 2-3 constituencies somewhere else. And this is a very small gap, 1.64% margin, a very small gap. What does this win mean for DP Ruto to win by such a small margin? Of course, this is from your perspective. And also, what do you think this win, this kind of loss with a small margin means for Azimio and specifically to Raila Odinga?
Well, that's quite a tough question to ask, but of course there are solutions for every tough question.
Yes.
Now, you see, the nation is, the nation needs to be galvanized in such a way that Mr. Odinga's 6.9 million are brought into acceptance of the government of the day, and Mr. Ruto's 7.1 million are also made to accept that we are one nation, despite the fact that you have taken the lead. Then we are one nation, because at the end of it all, we are still going to work together, live together, be neighbors, and do everything. But in such a way that in any event, any bruising statement, divisive statement is made, then Mr. Odinga's 6.9 million is not something to be wished away.
Yes.
Yeah. We can see that there is something called legitimacy in terms of governance, where like you're splitting the country into 50% each. That can bring some bit of bruising, and it cannot make the government of the day have its duties
right
smoothly until he brings together the entire country. And I want to laud Mr. Ruto by stating that the government that he is going to form is the government of the Republic of Kenya, and not a government of a particular group or particular section of the country, but a government of that was the very beginning of galvanization. Right. That is the bringing together of all. The electioneering period has ended. You made your vote. Your candidate won. We congratulate. Your candidate didn't win. We take it as it has come. But then we now need to put aside our differences in terms of political opinion, the prophetic political prophecies that my candidate is going to win, my candidate is not going to win. Those kind of discussions should now be buried, and now we move forward. We see how to together pay taxes, work the resources of our country and create wealth for the country. Now, for Mr. Odinga, I think being his 5th term and looking at his age, I think it is high time that he retires and rests. I mean, he has tried his level best to bring the country to where it is. In fact, you'd see historians would place Mr. Odinga's achievements far much at par, more than the ruling parties, because there was a way the trajectory of the country had taken, but for Mr. Odinga and other liberationalists that brought this country into the democratic path and into a civilized societal setting. And so some historians say that his achievements to this country are far much higher than actually those who have
been in the ruling.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Now, of course, also as you've mentioned there, it is important that they galvanize all these 6.9 million voters and 7.1 million voters, all including the many who did not vote, because we are speaking about a population of 14 million against a backdrop of 50 million Kenyans, right? Sure. So it has to include all of this. Also, being informed by that, it means also that the new president, or as of the numbers which are in parliament right now, the new president faces a tough task in pushing legislative agenda. So it is important that he brings all this together. If we take a look here, Kenya Kwanza Coalition has 159 lawmakers in the National Assembly, while Azimio la Umoja has 162. So not counting the independent tickets as well, it means Azimio does have control of the House. It is important that the president also does, put their concerns into the same basket that he puts the concerns of the Kenya Kwanza side. Having that in mind, DP Ruto is President-elect William Ruto is incumbent deputy president, yeah? He's vied on an outfit where he's branded himself as an outsider, fighting against state machinery, fighting against President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, who had already done a handshake. And this reminded me, and I was trying to get where exactly I had that before we came on air, and I just remembered it was during his first trial to become the Member of Parliament over in Eldoret. He was vying against someone else who was backed by the state at the time, and he did floor them, came into Parliament at the time, began his journey in at least active politics or elected positions. This time round, DP Ruto did also, go against or present himself as someone who's going against the state machinery. What does this mean what does this win for Ruto mean to Uhuru Kenyatta, who was, endorsing Raila Odinga, and as was remarks from DP Ruto saying that all the state machinery is being used towards ensuring that Raila Odinga wins this election. But now that they haven't, what do you think is going through the mind of Uhuru Kenyatta, and what kind of decisions will this inform on his side?
As always, you ask very tough questions because it's very difficult to know what's going into somebody's mind. But then, perspectively, is putting it into perspective.
Yes.
When you are the leader of, you're the one in charge of state machinery, it doesn't go without say that the Article 1 of the Constitution always carries the day. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Kenya. You are one individual at the state, having been given authority by the very same people, and they still have the power and capacity to withdraw their authority from you. That is not to say that William hasn't fought. He has fought, and the guy is very smart. He's being lauded for that. He's a very, very smart and calculative guy. He makes his moves calculatively, and wherever he focuses his shot, it is always on target. And that is how he was able to outwit those who get intelligence briefing. I think we can be aware, all of us as a country, for those who are slightly or somehow informed, that intelligence briefing was like split.
Mm-hmm.
There are those who are giving intelligence this side, and the other ones also giving the intelligence the other side. So it depends on how you as an individual could put the intelligence briefing into action.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where William beat them.
Right.
Because he got the intel. You could see there was a meeting in State House. He already has information about it. What was discussed, who said what, and even sometimes pictorials and voice codes. But then, as for the others, they were strategizing. For William, he would look at the both outcomes of the intel. What if we do it this way? How is it going to work? So that really exudes William as a smart politician. Is a master of politics.
Right.
As at now, as we speak.
So have we finally debunked the myth of deep state as we know it? Of course, it's been it's become a cliche term recently. Deep state is doing this. Deep state won't allow that. Deep state is the one in charge. Deep state will decide who does this and that. Can we maybe now finally say that either there is no longer a deep state, or there never was a deep state to begin with, or that, as you've said, the sovereignty of the people comes even way ahead of the so-called deep state?
Wow. In our previous discussion, as you asked me the question, you made aware that he reigned against state machinery.
Right.
And I think, in putting it into context,
Mm-hmm.
I think Kenyans have been referring to state machinery as the deep state. So if that is the context, then we can say that yes, deep state does exist. But then a smart politician who studies how state crafts, the operations, the bureaucracies within the inside and the outside of the state works,
Mm-hmm.
this particular individual will always outsmart the deep state.
Right. Of course. Now, as we've seen, there was a split in IEBC. Yesterday, as I mentioned, several press briefings happening inside Bomas, outside Bomas, over at Serena. And at Serena, we saw these 4 IEBC officials who are differing on the poll results. They are the new guard, the newly appointed IEBC commissioners, beginning with the vice chairperson, Juliana Cherera, who was the one giving that press briefing yesterday, taking no questions and saying that more statements will be coming later. There is a missing IEBC official from Embakasi who has been unfortunately found dead as of yesterday evening from reports that we have received here at KUTV. So seeing that half of the IEBC officials are saying that they're not confident in how the last part of the tallying was done. And we know that all the forms are there in the public portal. Did we have a free and fair elections, or how what can we take away from this kind of split, different statements coming from Chebukati and also from IEBC officials? Also, of course, knowing that, as I've mentioned, there's that missing IEBC commissioner who Chebukati did mention yesterday before his remarks, and also found dead later in the evening.
Well, I think it will give me time to react on this, because this is the gist of everything.
Yes.
I think this is what is going to make or break. It is the one that is going to seal the presidency of His Excellency, the President-elect William Ruto. Now, we look at this legally. I want to begin by the constitutional provisions. In interpreting the Constitution, because I've seen a lot of interpretations outside there, I've seen my senior Steve Ogola weighing in. I've also seen Esther Ngawa also weighing in on the same. I've seen Anjarwalan Khan or the Karim Khan of ANN also weighing in into this split.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the Constitution, Article 138, read it, the whole of it, up to Article 138.10. Of course, majority are dwelling on Article 138.10. If you go to Article 260, the interpretation of the Constitution is holistic. The Constitution advocates for holistic interpretation of the Constitution. That means you do not only pick that part that favors the situation. How did this part come about? For example, this is 38.10. We have 38.1, 2, 3 up to 9. What do they say? Now, in Article 138, it is actually giving the process of election and vote result declaration from the polling station all the way to the declaration. If you look at Article 138.3c, which is where my seniors are actually missing the point, it states that the process of verification and tallying is by the IEBC, not the chairman exclusive. It is by the IEBC. And what is the IEBC? The IEBC is constituted as an odd number of not more than 9, not less than 3. Currently, there are 7. And when you look at how do they make decisions? Decisions are made either unanimously by all of them agreeing or by a majority. How many were they? 7. 4 disowned. Then they stated not the declaration, verification, which is the part given to the IEBC by the Constitution, not the chairman. I will take you to the decision by the Court of Appeal in the Maina Kiai case. The citation is an Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission versus Maina Kiai and 5 others, 2017. In this appeal, they sought to know the powers because the IEBC Act had introduced certain sections into the Act which gave the chairman the authority, mandate to solely tally, verify, count, and declare. But then the court, the High Court, the trial court at that time first, found that to the extent that voter tallying, verification, and counting, those sections are unconstitutional. And then the Court of Appeal also upheld that decision by stating that the people of Kenya did not give this unfettered power and authority to one individual person, but to the commission.
Right.
So the procedure is Kenyans vote, the polling officers tally the votes at the polling stations. They fill out Form 34A, upload. But then they must also come with a physical Form 34As, to which now the commission as a team sits to verify and tally as a commission. Then they make Form 34B.
Right.
After making the Form 34B with their decisions as a commission, having verified and approved it, then Form 34C is filled. From there, now the commission, actually there's a section of that 138 that says the commission shall now declare, but then section 138.10 now splits it, gives it to the chairman to declare.
The results.
To declare the results.
Right.
So their split actually is weighty.
Okay. I'm seeing here, if I can cut to Ephraim Jenga on Twitter, his reaction is saying that Chebukati is the returning officer of the presidential election. He is the one with the sole mandate to announce the results. There doesn't have to be a concurrence among the commissioners. So this means that what these 4 commissioners are contesting is not the tallying, it is the verification, as you've mentioned. Do they have legal basis to take, can this be used on legal grounds for petition at Supreme Court?
Good. They're not contesting the tally or the verification. They are contesting, they're not contesting the declaration.
The declaration, all right.
But they are contesting the verification and tally. Actually, the word opaqueness that the commission has used is found in the Maina Kiai case.
All right.
You go read that case very well. You'll find that word opaqueness. It must be free, fair, and verifiable. The word verifiable. So, not declared. It's free, fair, and verifiable election. The agents of Azimio talked about verification. That they were not allowed to verify.
Form 34Cs.
The IEBC officials that split are also talking about verification. And they disowned the result. Meaning, 4 out of 7 majority have disowned the result. What is the implication?
Right.
The implication then becomes that the decision that Wafula Chebukati reached at, because he's saying, he also made a statement by saying that 2 of his officers were bruised and injured and in the hospital.
Right.
We were not told whether he took these forms to them to also verify. So on that fateful day yesterday, when he was declaring the result, we can conclusively say that it was a sole decision of 1 out of 7 IEBC.
So this does have ground in the Supreme Court?
It does have ground.
Okay. Before we move into much more of legal matters, let's look at the implications on the population, right? Here, Mariga Authority is saying that the 4 commissioners were extremely irresponsible in their presser to cast aspersions on the credibility of results that were announced, and when the final results are being read out without giving reasons beyond opaqueness and refusing to answer questions that were being put out by the press, of course, and very many Kenyans involved. They were involved in the process for full 6 days and took part in announcing of the tallies, and up to until the final results is when they did this opaque nature of the last phase without details, which isn't fully responsible, according to reactions by a few Kenyans. If you take a look at the state of how Kenya is, what we are trying to mitigate in terms of peace and post-election occurrences here and there, was this responsible of them? Could they maybe have waited? If you were a legal advisor to these 4 commissioners, would you have told them maybe to wait until after the results? Because I know this has brought in some, you might not have the jitters, but I know they are there and there's a lot of talk going on. Is this bad timing?
Silence is concurrence. Now, can you access the IEBC portal?
Yes.
Not 100% of Form 34As have been uploaded, even up to now.
Okay.
Check.
As I check.
As you check.
Yes.
Not 100% of Form 34Bs have been uploaded, even up to now. Why?
Right.
The results are declared, but not all Form 34As are available to the public. Not all Form 34Bs are available to the public. I think there are about 20-something Form 34As that are yet to be uploaded. And there are about 2 Form 34Bs that are about to be uploaded. IBC has uploaded 289 out of 291, of course, plus the diaspora. So that means not 100%. The other side, it is 46,201 Form 34As out of 46,229 that have been uploaded.
Right.
Verification, the actual eventual verification of this result comes when everything has been tallied like this and all the results are given.
Right.
So they begin to confirm.
Let me have a look at my copy.
Yes, they begin to confirm
Yes.
from the first constituency,
Mm.
Kiambu County. Ruto got 609, 606, 085. Raila got 210, 393.
Mm-hmm.
Does any commissioner have any
Issue.
query about that?
Uh-huh.
No. They moved to
Nyeri.
Nyeri. That until the final point where now they say that up to this point, chairman, you can represent us as a commission to declare the results.
Okay.
That was not the case.
That was not the case, yeah.
And you would ask yourself, the international community, these are people with intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
What did their walking away mean?
Did they already know something that we didn't?
That could be the question.
Okay.
That could be the question.
All right.
You are journalists.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer just based in our office. I don't know much. We are depending on you guys to tell us.
All right. So that's an assignment I've been given here on air to find out what the diplomatic community knows and that we might not know.
Yes.
Earlier on, you've mentioned that, of course, that Raila Odinga has fought for this country, put it on a path to democracy. Very many things that Kenyans get to enjoy due to his immense sacrifice that he's done since he began this political journey. And given that you've mentioned, there's a case to be argued here, right? There's a case to be argued in the Supreme Court. There's enough to present to the judges. Should then Raila Odinga still continue with his pursuit to become the fifth? Does he still have the slightest chance to argue this out and come back for a rerun and maybe win it?
Well, I think his ears does not allow him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he has finished it energetic because I doubt if there is any human being that can lose elections, tightly contested elections for all these 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
and you still maintain your basis. First time lost, second time lost, third time, and still going back to them. At this time around, give me, I'm going to do ABCD, and you see
Well,
quite a number.
They say Abraham Lincoln did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was 8 times, yeah.
Right.
I think Abraham Lincoln
Yes,
also
he did it a lot of times.
And that was 8 times, isn't
Yes.
it? So
And he got it
that
the
brings
8th
me to the question that, the answer that I wanted to give
Mhm.
is age. It really doesn't allow, because there are certain years when you reach, you begin to forget.
Mhm.
And see, we do not want our country to be run in such kind of a state. But if you ask me from the side where I sit,
Mhm.
the guy is still energetic.
Right.
He still commands bases. He still commands votes.
Still an enigma.
He's still an enigma.
Right. Now, given that we've spoken about there's a case to be argued, IEBC split, the chairman did his own declaration, almost being mowed by a marauding group of people who are there surrounding him. Do we still have ourselves? Can we still place ourselves as the model for democracy in East Africa and Africa at large? If you saw the past 6 days of intense confusion and anxiety, tweets and comments coming out of the international community, especially our neighbors, Tanzania, Uganda, saying how much of a good representation of democracy Kenya was. There was no shutting down of the internet, there was no violence, there was no state machinery being sent to various aspirants and candidates. But now, at the very tail end, we seem to have tanked it. Are we still a model for elections, or is this just a slight mishap and we are still right on track with democracy?
When the method is right in a mathematical context,
Mhm.
and the answer is wrong, the method will still remain centuries to come. Kenya still is a model for democracy in that not any African country has reached where Kenya has reached in terms of handling its elections. We got the method right, but the answer we got it wrong.
Okay.
That
All
that is what I
That
can
is
say.
what you're saying. The method still stands for ages.
The method stands. Internet free. I mean, I was in the house just surfing YouTube. I mean, there was a lot of freedom.
Right.
And then even after the elections, you see celebrations were very modest. And this time the media, we have to congratulate you and laud you for that. Because I'm made to understand there are some parts that were chaotic, but you have not escalated it by actually projecting to us these condescending opinions from Kenyans. So of course, they have their right to express their anger, but not in a destructive way.
Yes.
But the media this time has it.
But also that's, definitely commendable job. That's not the picture we want to paint out there.
Sure.
And I've also seen Kenyans, especially on Twitter, which is the platform I am mostly having a look at, reporting any images or videos of people trying to show chaotic incidences or trying to paint a certain picture to the international community. Very commendable. If you see any of those videos by international journalists or local journalists or anyone whatsoever trying to show chaos or trying to instigate that there's incitement or violence happening anywhere, there's a report button on social media, on every platform. Just press there, report that, and the people over at Twitter will be able to flag it and pull it down. As Mr. Saleh is saying, we're still a model for democracy all over Africa, and I think I will have to agree with you on that one. We've really behaved in a manner.
Don't forget even Asia.
Yeah.
We are a modern Africa in Asia.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
So many countries will have to learn something from us, especially now that we have that public portal. I think that with years to come, if technology, we embrace technology even further, we might get to a point where we can vote even electronically. We don't have to present ourselves at the polling stations.
Exactly.
Right.
We might reach there. And that is from your question, you're asking me about the achievements of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Even this transparency, I can say he did achieve it. Because if he did not go to court
in 2017,
the transparency we enjoyed this time round would still not be there.
Right.
Because it is the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's petition that paved way for all these things. And it is that through that petition where we say an election is not an event, it is a process. According to the finding of the judges, that the election is a process. And that is why I'm urging my fellow learned councils to reread Article 138 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Do not look at sub-Article 10. Look at it as a whole, because 1 all the way to 9 gives the process and 10 is the finality.
Right. Of course. Definitely Article 138. Hata mimi nimeandika hapo. I will have to go and read all of it through. Now, if we go to a rerun, in a situation where either Raila Amolo Odinga takes this to the Supreme Court or any other interested party contests this election, is Kenya ready?
In Kenya, you must not only have a majority behind you, but you must have a tactic of guarding jealously your elections. I think a greater number still have Mr. Raila at heart, but the only assurance they lack from him, are you going to protect our votes? If he gets that right, I'm telling you, he can still go back to the electorate and they will elect him. But your question is, are we ready? A few days ago, we saw that the UNGA subsidy has been returned, which was later flagged as fake news
Yeah, right.
by the nation. But one thing I can assure you that our country is bleeding financially.
Definitely.
Yeah, our country is seriously bleeding.
We've been given a month of relief that the fuel prices will still remain the same up to the end of the month, which means
remaining the same at what cost?
At extremely high prices, 159.
You see that?
Yeah.
Now, basically, our country is bleeding financially, and the cost of running an election in Kenya is very expensive.
Yes.
I think the last time I was here, you were actually exuding or pulling out some numbers.
Yes.
that Kenyan's election was the most expensive.
Right.
I think you had indicated it. Was it 40,000?
40.6 billion.
40.6
Yes,
billion.
in the top 5 most expensive elections.
Yeah, very expensive election. So we do not want to go into such kind of a situation, and the outcome might still just be the same. One thing, sometimes necessity is we call the mother of invention. In case of any dispute, I think for legal streamlining, an individual can try to petition so that we get clarity from the Supreme Court. What is the implication of the action of this for IEBC officers? The other time when I was here also, I think I was with your colleague Ojwang Mariam.
Yes.
And he was asking me, should BBI go to the Supreme Court? Then I told him, I'm not a supporter of BBI per se, but I'm a supporter of a streamlined legal regime.
Right.
So I support BBI going to the Supreme Court for reason that we get the reasoning of the court on certain jurisprudential matters, of which we got. Because at that time, I remember there was an issue, an antagonism between the proponents and the opposers of the BBI on what constitutes the quorum of the IEBC. And the court upheld that the constitutional quorum is the bare minimum. Because, we have the act that says the minimum is 5, and the constitution they are saying 3. So the constitution, the court, the Supreme Court actually upheld that the minimum for the commission to undertake its business is 3 commissioners. Now, this time also, not that, because we are bleeding financially. We are bleeding financially, and that is our economy. Whether Raila or Ruto or Uhuru or whoever comes into power, and of course we congratulate, we have the president-elect as at now, whoever comes to power, not much will change.
Right, there's so much legal room for that.
Every good thing these guys promise us, we are going to begin seeing them departing from them, being faced with the reality of the current economic crisis globally. So nothing much is going to change. But I support a constitutional petition, the president election petition, for reason of jurisprudential clarity. What is the implication of
this
petition? Read your Twitter right now. Everybody has his own opinion.
Right.
Which actually, by the way, seems to be right until you dig deep into the law. So giving the court an opportunity to dig deeper into the law, that you guys bring your side, they also bring their side, and the court sits down to make reasoning.
Right.
That will give a clear cut.
So I'm saying that, from what you've been describing, is that it's important sometimes to have such petitions, regardless of whether, it's outright or maybe just another decision to try and stab at the presidency. It's still important because from what I've learned is that it also sets precedents, as you did in 2017. As you said, in 2017, we got to understand exactly what the Supreme Court thinks about the electoral process. It's a process and not an event. Also, to get the highest interpretation, of course, by the highest court in the land, to know how certain matters will be decided into the future. So that's a really interesting perspective to look at it from. Maybe now a little segue into lighter matters. Not light, but still, a bit away from a legal perspective. The conduct of politicians. We saw yesterday senators, members of parliament, misbehaving in a manner that you will not think Mheshimiwa does. And you've just mentioned that if Raila Odinga has electorates at heart, or many of them have him at heart, and the only assurance maybe from many of them is protection of their votes. Is this protection, was that a form of protection, or is there a way to jealously guard votes without turning into that kind of, I would say, for lack of a better word, animalistic behavior?
Well, everything here is constitution-based on how that should be run. And I think, judging from how we've been conducting our elections, the mandate to protect elections actually does not lie on the politicians, but on the IEBC. And the constitution provides for it, that the IEBC must operate in a manner that they are not viewed to be partial.
Okay.
You see that?
Right.
So that every political alignment or inclination is put at bay, and IEBC is given unfettered mandate to run the elections. So guarding jealously elections simply means that if you see some suspicion, you call it out and ensure that when it is called out, action is taken. Proper action. Because we've heard from the Azmio part, they are saying that there was infiltration of the IEBC servers, and that there was they called it taking over what?
Hacking.
Was that hacking? But
Yes.
that's the infiltration. The hacking is the infiltration.
Right.
But also they talked about some IEBC officials who were purchased. No, those were the allegations.
Right.
Then from the UDM and the Kenya Kwanza part, you hear them saying that state machinery, some IEBC officials were arrested, some were bruised and injured. You see. So if all these political inclinations are put at bay, and nobody uses finance or state machinery to interfere in the peaceful and transparent electoral process, not event, electoral process, right from the polling station, actually from the ballot box. Or may I call it, it begins from the ballot box.
All right.
Right from the ballot box. Like there was no stuffing of ballot papers, as were some allegations from some quarters, stuffing of ballot papers. I read sometimes back Lee Kinyanjui saying that in some polling stations in Nakuru, that 2 polling stations, the voters there were 90 each. So he was wondering that at what time did they agree that now they are 270?
Right.
We divide each other into 90.
Right.
So you go, the 90 go vote there. So he's expecting it. That is what the Supreme Court also expected.
Right.
That there shouldn't be a pattern, an obvious pattern in an electoral
So whose
process.
role it is to make